What if the colossal statues of Easter Island are stargates? The heads stare down from their shoulders like slow, thinking God's big stone faces set in the wind, eyes lost in the Pacific. We call them Moai, carved by the Rapa Nui, moved across the island on rollers, toppled and re-erected, a mystery theater of human effort. But what if they were more than memorials? What if the colossal statues of Easter Island are stargates? I first heard the idea late at night in Hangaroa, while the tide clicked against coral, and an old woman braided her granddaughter's hair by lamplight. She told a story her grandfather told her, the kind that tastes like salt, and taught how the statues weren't just carved to honor ancestors, but to mark places where the island touched other skies. Our people listened to the stones, she said in Rapa, New assaulted Spanish. They knew when the sky wanted to open. Archaeologists focus on transport and social collapse, how a small people built massive monuments and then ran out of trees, how war and rats finished the rest. That's a useful story, and it's true in pieces. But they come from a background where rocks are relatives and stories are maps. When elders say a place is an opening, they mean it. The earth breathes in certain places. The thin spots, where sky and world meet. Walk the rim of Rano Raraku at sunrise, and the feeling is hard to shrug. Hundreds of Moai lie like rows of sleeping giants, faces turned inland as if watching their descendants. Some stand with backs to the sea. Others are half-finished, chiseled from crater rock with care. The islanders say the statues look where the life is fields, villages, animals. But the Moai also cluster near volcanic slopes, along ridges, near caves, and stone alignments. Those are the same places other cultures mark as thresholds. In other places, I've listened to elders. They point to standing stones, two hilltops where shamans met the stars. The Hopi say certain mesas are doors. The Lakota have visioned places. The Ambori point to ancestral pie. The common thread is this: people worldwide build monuments where the world is thin. The Moai could be part of that global grammar stone language for the places that connect. There's a technical side that makes the Stargate idea plausible. Polynesian navigators were astronomers of a high order, reading swells and stars to steer 1,000-mile voyages. Rapa Nui had contact networks across the Pacific, and their rituals included decoding the positions of stars, the movements of Venus and other bodies. Carving a Moai, then, could be part statue, part observatory. A marker tuned to sight lines that align with celestial events. Imagine a statue placed so a particular star drops behind its profile, or a solstice sunrise pours light across its cheek like a key. But the language of Stargate asks more. What if those alignments were not just for calendar purposes, but for contact? Suppose certain geometric position stone placed just so, chanty sung. Drums strew create effects. Focused beams of sound. Electromagnetic harmonics. Resonance that the Moai shape amplifies. Modern researchers find that certain megalithic arrangements create unusual acoustic and magnetic anomalies. Stone, when set right, can concentrate energy, vibrate in ways that change perception. A carved head isn't only face, it's a receiver. Stories back this up. The Rapa Nui speak of Moai Tangata statues with Manasi spiritual force. Elders remember nights when the statues dreamed and sent visions to people. They speak of visitors from the sea in canoes of light who answered the stones. Maybe that's mythic language describing contact. Maybe it's the memory of something else. Either way, oral history carries details. Archaeology doesn't. Who tended the stones? Which rituals kept the boundaries soft? Which songs called the right time? I met Tane, an old navigator who still reads stars the long way. He took me to a Moai that sits near a low cave. He blew a conch shell, a sound like a whale, and began a low hum. The hum rolled along the stone and back, as if the statue had a throat. At a certain pitch, the wind in the grasses stilled. Tane said simply, "We open when the song is correct." That sounds poetic and impossible in equal measure. But when someone who has lived by the ocean their whole life tells you the wind listens, you learn to be patient with the listening. There's also evidence the Moai were part of his system. Their eyes once had inlays of coral and obsidian, with pupils They would have seen the horizon in sharp ways. Some lines on the island point to equinox, sunrises, and to that's observation and story braided together. Maybe those lines are roots of code for navigation and for meeting points. A voyager coming from afar wouldn't need a GPS. They'd need a stone face to say, "You are in the right place." If the Moai are Stargates, it changes how we treat them. They are not just relics but living thresholds. They're not property to be owned but relatives to be respected. The people who carved them weren't trying to impress gods. They were mapping relationships between people and sky, stone and song, island and ocean. They opened doors the way elders open stories. Slow, careful, with tobacco and drum. I left Rapa Nui with sand in my shoes and a humming in my teeth. The Moai watched me go, patient and unchanged, or perhaps waiting for the song to come around again. Back home, my grandfather would say, "The land never stops offering lessons. We stop listening." On Easter Island, the lesson is carved large. We build to reach the stars, whether we name those stars physics or ancestors. A Moai is a question in stone. Maybe it answers when the wind knows the reply.